Well, what's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. It is very nice to have you here today. I have got something interesting on the table by way of Napster Ninja. Thank you very much. This, of course, is the Spyderco Stovepipe. And it's small. Now, this landed last year before late, something like that. The Stovepipe came out to sort of mixed reviews and responses. Now, it is a David Rydbom design. It is a factory version of his custom Build-A-Butcher knife. Now, the Build-A-Butcher knife is bigger. This landed, like I said, with some mixed reviews. Now, Spyderco has a history of making expensive, interesting knives. You know, the Paisan here, of course, being one of them. This is about $500. This was $420. Yeah, that's part of the problem. It is not a lot of knife for an awful lot of money. Now it is titanium and CPM 20 CV. We'll put the Paisan away. It is a good design. What do I mean by that? Well, it's very comfortable. It's very interesting. It's just really expensive. I mean, you can get a lot of knife for $400. Let's talk about the good, because the bad is it's really expensive, like criminally expensive. Let's talk about the good. The good, why is my watch doing that? The good is that, as I said, it's very comfortable. It is very well made. It's a very attractive little knife. The CPM 20 CV blade is hollow ground. It is apparently running on washers. That's what I read. I'm not taking this apart because it is not mine. It does have very interesting design aesthetic. It's very slicey. The action is, yes, definitely washers. The action is very good. The closed detent is surprisingly stiff. So when you're holding it like this, if you go to roll it out, you can do it, but it definitely resists. And if you touch this lock bar, you can't. So you got to keep your fingers in the right spot. It does flick open, you know. I mean, as I showed you a second ago, fairly well, almost dropped it. Because it's so small, for me, when I go to flick it open, I kind of have to be holding it in just the right way, like out here. If I do it at the wrong angle, it tries to jump out of my hand. Somebody once, not that long ago, said, you need to review knives that you don't like. I said, I don't want to do that. Because I don't. But every once in a while, one comes along that just isn't really for me, and that I still think is worth looking at. This is one of those. I like a lot of variety in my knives. I do. I mean, I just had it out. I mean, I really like the Paisan. What else is on the table? I love the Bedlam. And what else is here? Oh, in the budget land, I mean, I love the Kershaw NORAD. This is a goofy knife, but I love it. It's a slicey. This is just a great knife. My knife taste is not set in one way. Like some people like a particular style of knife and everything else is wrong. I don't feel that way. But they have to have certain features to make me really get into it, like size being one of them. I do like some smaller knives. I do. You guys have seen this a lot lately because it's just been in my pocket a bunch lately. But I love the SMKW exclusive version of the highball from Kershaw, titanium and S35 VN. It's a very small knife. But it's bigger than the Stovepipe. In fact, the Bug Out is bigger than the Stovepipe. This is a little tiny knife. Okay, now we've gotten my sort of rant out of the way. Let's talk about what you get. We'll line it up right here. On this cleaver blade, you get 2.5 inches of cutting on just shy of 3 inches of CPM 20 CV, the grip area. And you get to go just to the back of this blade, back of the plunge. I can talk. Back of the plunge. It's 1, 2, 3, and just about 3.5. So my pinky actually lives back here. See that? But it's comfortable. Like, don't get me wrong. It feels very good in hand. It's a little pokey, but overall, it's pretty good. Closed profile on the stovepipe is, well, it's a small knife, so you're coming in at just 4 inches. And the in the pocket profile is a bit of a mess because of this sort of swell. I mean, it's 1 3/4 at the top of the pocket. That means that anything else you might put in your pocket is going to be in competition with a lot of knife. Now, I don't mind big knives. I mean, I've got Napster's full-size Onslaught here. This eats up a terrific amount of pocket. I mean, it eats up almost 2 full inches, but I don't care because I know that with a knife this big, that's the only thing I'm going to have in my pocket. This is small enough, the way it's built, that it makes you feel like, well, I can put other things in there, my pen or a flashlight or whatever, but you can't really. Now, don't get me wrong, because there's no flipper, right? Nothing is going to be banging against the things you have in your pocket, but it still eats up a lot of pocket. Now, I mentioned that it's slicey, and it is. This hollow grind is done beautifully. I mean, when Spyderco wants to do something, they do it right. And this is no exception. Because of the way you hold this knife, you're very close to the cutting edge, so working this way is very good. And of course, it's got this beautiful cutout right here, so your finger to land in for draw cuts. It's got enough of a tip on it that you can do. You can like press into the medium you're cutting and give it a cut, or press in and pull, whatever. It cuts well. It really does. But man, is it expensive. And because of the way they did this pocket clip, man, it's a fair amount of knife sticking out of your pocket for a 4-inch knife. I mean, yeah. As a collector's piece, it's very interesting. I mean, I'm not going to have one, but if I do have interesting Spydercos, and if I was going to lean into it, I could see doing that. Now, I know Napster, who, by the way, loaned this to me within days of him getting it. He hasn't necessarily played with it yet. He loves stuff like this, so he's going to dig this a ton, and the people that own them seem to really like them. I am very grateful for the opportunity to look at one because it makes me know that I don't need to go hunt one down. Not because there's anything wrong with the build or fit and finish or overall quality or materials, but because it's just not a knife built for me, and that's okay. Tip to tail, we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3/4 inches overall. We'll do some size comparisons. Now, I've already done this a little bit. As I said, it is smaller than the bug out, which means it's going to be considerably smaller than the full-size grip. Right. Since it's a Spyderco, and since many of you own Spydercos, if you don't own Benchmates, here it is against the PM2. As you can see, it is considerably smaller than the PM2. And the Para 3, which it is similar in size to. You get about the same cutting surface as you do on the Para 3. You just get less grip area by quite a bit. And you could buy 3 of these or 2.5 of these for the price of one of these. $420 is a lot of money. I mean, you can get this and this for that much money, or you could get 4 of these, or anyway, you get where I'm going. So that what that really is, that's the thing for me. It's just too much money. Don't get me wrong, I think the Paisan is ridiculously priced too, but at the very least, it's integral, right? So there is a complexity of build here that sort of makes the crazy price tag make not sense, but make a little more sense, I guess. But as a showpiece, it's interesting. Now, I would love to get my hands on one of the actual customs, just to see what they were trying to do. If this is a good representation of the maker's actual custom work, that does, of course, lend something to it. When the Chavez 229 dropped, back then it was $375, $350, something like that. I thought that was really expensive. That wasn't until I started pricing out how much his 228 customs were. So there is something to that, right? But just the same. Now, if you're looking for one of these, he got this one at, well, basically it's a blem. I think there's a little scratch right here, and I think that came from the factory that way, so he didn't pay full price for this by any stretch of the imagination. Keep your eyes on their the blemished sales and the seconds sales that Spyderco does, because they move amazing stuff at really good prices. So if you're interested in one of these, and I think they probably still have some, you can keep your eyes open for that, or of course keep your eyes on the secondary market. When I poked around, I found them for less than 400 bucks. So they've lost, they don't hold their value like some crazy knives do. Let's go ahead and break out the magic calipers. Now, as frame locks go, I do want to point out something real quick. This is an interesting frame lock. It's called the Reese or Reeve, I saw it written both ways, locking system. Basically, it comes up against the pivot, which the axe, I guess, is a bit of an overtravel stop. Right there, you can see it, which is cool. And other than that, it has a very, very small steel lock bar insert that runs right at the very top. I'm not going to be able, that's not going to show up no matter what I do. Maybe with a little better light, you can see the shine right there. Maybe, I don't even know. Anyway, there is a steel lock bar insert up against the titanium, so you are steel on steel, which is very nice. There is no milling on the inside of this thing, so it is surprisingly weighty. We'll get to the weight in just a minute. Now, they do give you a fairly nice sized chunk of that CPM 20 CV. They give you almost 4 millimeters, 3.97 millimeters, which is nice. But because of this hollow grind, it comes down to a really nice and very, very slicey edge, right? It's not thick on the edge, which is nice. The knife itself, edge to edge, is coming in at just over half an inch. Just at half an inch. So from at its thickest spot, it's about a half an inch this way. Let's weigh it. I'm curious at this point. Excuse me while I move my bits and pieces around. For those of you wondering, my studio is my dining room table. So everything is portable. I have friends that do this now, and they have a studio set up, so their stuff lives in. Anyway, I don't get to do that. Yeah, 4.9 ounces. By way of example, the Paisan comes in at 4.3 ounces. So this weighs more than this. SOCOM Bravo, 5.7, 4.8. I mean, this is less than an ounce heavier than, anyway, this is a heavy knife. See, I touched the lock bar and I can't, gotta do it down here. Okay. So there we go. This is the Spyderco Stovepipe. Very interesting design from Spyderco. I think it was fairly brave of them, given the things that they make that sell the best are fairly standard. I want them to keep doing stuff like this. I do, because it drives them to be more artistic and more interesting in their knives. But maybe they're going to make a Stovepipe XL that would cost $500 or $600. I don't even know. It's very expensive. Beyond that, it is a very cool little knife. Thank you very much, Napster, for the chance to take a look at it. I do appreciate that. And that's where we're going to wrap this up. This is the Spyderco Stovepipe, a very expensive but very interesting knife from the folks at Spyderco. If it is something you enjoy, reach out and grab one. If you've been thinking about it but worried that it was a little too small, it is. And that's where we're going to end it. Hope you guys have enjoyed this look at the Spyderco Stovepipe. I know I've enjoyed having it around. Once again, thanks, Napster. And on that note, we'll see you next time. Take care, guys.